It's massive, gigantic, grotesque. Nightmares in the Sky by Stephen King and F. Scott Fitzgerald. It's a typical book. Today on Typical Books, a little short aside to talk about Nightmares in the Sky by Stephen King and F. Scott Fitzgerald. I don't know who this F. Scott fella is, but he takes nice photos. And that's really what it's about. It's not a Stephen King story, so you're not missing out, Stephen King collectors and fans. But you are missing out on an essay that he's written to accompany these photos. Really interesting coffee table book I'd never heard of before. And this goes part and parcel with 666 by Jay Anson, because I picked this up when I was visiting Chris in Pennsylvania at 2nd and Charles. And it was the first thing that I decided to buy there. We ended up with quite a few other books on our way out. We just found a stack as we were walking, which was just weird. But this was the thing that I had found that just made me go gaga. I'd never heard of it, as I said, and I'm not sure any other Stephen King fans have heard of it, so I hope that other people can find a copy of this. It's the sort of thing that on older fans is probably sitting on their bookshelves that they picked up when it first came out, and then I haven't heard any news about it since then. It's something that people just don't really talk about, which is strange to me, because Stephen King collectors are talkative people. He takes me to the window, small, dirty, crisscrossed with old chicken wire, and points across the street to something which seems to be a monster being born, not of a living creature, but of a building. Seeing this obscene thing is a shock. What is worse is seeing the people passing to and fro beneath it, intent on either plotting their day's business or planning their evening's pleasure. They pass to and fro and do not look up. None of them look up. I hear him say it again. We don't see them, but they see us. I don't know about you, but I always look at gargoyles, Maybe I just not interested in looking at the people that are around the world. I'm more interested in looking at the Nightmares in the Sky, I suppose. I've been tempted to tweet Mr. King with pictures of gargoyles from the Ottawa area, because there are quite a few. But it's a picture book, it's a coffee table book, kind of wonderful take on these things in different cities and cemeteries, things that people might be very familiar with. I'm just flipping randomly so you get an idea of not only gargoyles, green men, cartouches, just interesting things you will see on architecture. But he does write a fairly lengthy essay. It's probably, I guess, about 6,000 words, something like that, about his motivation and his interest in the gargoyles. Because at first, in typical Stephen King fashion, he sort of writes it like a diary entry. It's almost like a blog post more than an essay, which I definitely love, especially people who really like the Stephen King introductions to his books, where he talks to you on a person-to-person level. He talks to us on a person-to-person level in this, so it's no different than his normal persona. So he talks about how he sort of was like, yeah, pictures of gargoyles, want me to write something? I don't know what to write. God, I don't know what to write. And the word has just flowed, because they just do. Originally $25. Viking Studio Books, text by Stephen King, and photos by F. Scott Fitzgerald. If anyone could illuminate who F. Scott Fitzgerald is, that would be great. Nightmares in the Sky was published in 1988 and simultaneously published in Canada, whatever that means. I suppose Viking has different setups as far as their distribution and production goes. But yeah, gargoyles and grotesques. Look closely, because we see these ominous layers of the human psyche so seldom. They are there, these nightmares, but they are in the sky. Look closely, because even when you don't see them, they are watching you. Are they ever? Down the road from me, there is a little overpass that overhangs sort of like not a quarry, but like a refuse pile that the city of Ottawa uses. And there's a lot of the bricks and ornaments and things that are being cleaned or replaced or broken off of the Parliament buildings. So there is a gargoyle just laying on its side down the road, quite a large one too, that I pass by and sort of say hello to all the time, let alone the cow gargoyle that is down the road that I've posted a picture of on Instagram, trying to figure out why there's this cow. It's like a daisy, little black and white Jersey cow with a little daisy hanging out of its mouth. It's really cute. I don't know why it's there. It doesn't really count as a gargoyle, but it is sort of nightmarish to me. So if you're a Stephen King aficionado, enjoy photograph books, or a photographer yourself, or someone who collects those tertiary items for writers' collections that are one-offs like Danse Macabre, and something like Nightmares in the Sky would round out your collection quite nicely, unless you're just interested in the fiction and just want him to tell you stories, and usually skip those beginnings of his books where he talks to you, the constant reader, then this wouldn't be for you, but it's definitely for me. Definitely for me, being a photographer, somebody who loves gargoyles and weird, grotesque architecture and old Gothic architecture that fills our cities and the weird corners of our downtown cores, then this would definitely be a great addition. And I'm really glad that I found it because it was such a fluke find. You can sort of see the embossing. It's just a very plain, typical book. It's been well cared for. I don't know who had owned it beforehand, but thank you very much, sir or madam. You did a great job keeping this in really good condition. Wonderful, wonderful condition for a used book, really, truly. All in all, Nightmares in the Sky is a typical book. It's larger than a typical book, I would say. If there's anything atypical about it, is that it's not a fictional story by Stephen King, and it's mostly pictures, and it is gigantic. So, a typical book. If you listen to one of the podcasts I'm on, Dead Air with Wes, Dead Air Night on spotterpictures.net, we got into a conversation about the Gargoyles movie when we were reviewing Tales from the Dark Side. So I felt compelled to flip through this again right after that, even though I'd only picked it up in March and spent a lot of time with it. I spent time flipping through it then when I was still in Pennsylvania, and I spent about 2 hours one evening reading it cover to cover and going through all the pictures. I picked it up twice since then, and then spent another hour hanging out with all those photos. So I've gotten a lot of joy out of this already, not only because of the Gargoyles cartoon and talking about gargoyles with Tales from the Dark Side and walking around a city that happens to have gargoyles. I just totally enjoy the hell out of this book. Isn't he cute? Isn't he so cute? He's so cute. I like him a lot. A typical book.